Hello, thanks for joining me again on another section of Keep the Beat with Pete. And today, part 3 of the funk series, we're going to go into the Shoop. I don't know, S-H-U-P, S-H-O-O-P, but we're going to just try. It's all over the place in funk, pop, disco, everywhere. And it has been there for a long time, and it's quite a skill set that you need to develop. So, first thing I would like to point out is that there's an excellent section in Advanced Funk Studies. Everyone, I think, that plays this and has been through this book. They've seen this book, Rick Latham, I don't know, it's out 30 years or more or something like that. It's one of the top drum books. Well, he has a section in there, hi-hat openings, and you can look at it. There's 1 through 18, and he talks about them in 16th notes, and he's discussing them in terms of hand to hand and individual. So that's there, and then so you would naturally go through the 16th notes, 1, and then 1. We don't have to do all that here, but that's a great way to practice them. I mean, if you took Ted Reed, and when he has like patterns of 16th notes, and then he starts and stops them. That way, that's an excellent way to practice it, the way Rick Latham has it. But there's, suffice to say, there's several ways of practicing it. That's with 16th notes. With 8th notes, you know, and then quarter notes. 1, 2. So what we'll do is we'll work with some of our previous segments and we'll integrate the Shoop into that. So if you watch part 1, we were dealing with, and you can go back and take a look at that one, we were dealing with quarter notes. Basic elements and some quarter note patterns. So you'd have to go back and cover that just to catch up on that. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then moving that around. See, now we're going to work the Shooping. And then we did the 16th note patterns, you know. 4. And then we did all the stick control patterns. We converted them, you know. That was in part 2. Well, now with those 2 segments, we work in the Shoop. So let's take quarter notes. So you'd have like 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Right there, we took that beat from segment 1, had 5 elements, you know, basic elements. 1, 2. 1, 2. And you can move that around. And match that all the way around with the quarter notes. And then you can place sometimes two of those things and substitute the hi-hat for the bass drum. 1, 2, 1, 2. So I was just taking the bass drum out and transferring it over to the hi-hat. But suffice to say, there's a lot you can do here. And then, of course, with all of these, the Shoop, you want to work on the quality and the consistency of your Shoop before I let this whole segment go by and I didn't point that out to you. Somebody else will. So, you want to have a nice clear Shoop. But in the quarter note world, quarter notes and eighths, 1, 2, 3. There you go, the quarters and eighths. The quality of the Shoop can vary depending on do you need a legato, do you need a staccato? Are you going to hit the shank or the tip? That sound, you have to play with all these sounds, get used to your pedal, and in some separate segments we're going to talk about bass drum and ankles, heels, and same thing as we transfer it over to the hi-hat, double bass that we use to get over to the hi-hat. But you want to get the nice consistent Shoop sound. You're going to need that for whatever songs you're playing. But today we're really just concentrating on the patterns, so let me just say that. So that's quarters and eighths. You start out practicing it, like I say, 16th notes, just a... then eighth notes and quarter notes. Now, we talked about playing the Shoop from this quarter note pattern, pretty straight ahead. Then we had eighth notes that we had in part 2 of the funk series. So we had some, or that pattern. Or or 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Okay, so that was one basic pattern. We had another basic pattern. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. 3, 4. 1 and 2. Then we said stick control, page 5, 6, and 7, there's all these hand combinations that can be transferred to the drum set. That was also part of part 2. So now you're talking about 72 basic ones, but then when you mix and match and slice and dice them, there's so many I don't even know how many you'll come up with, but a lot. So you could either play them on top of the set, like say paradiddle. Or play them between the right foot and the left hand, keeping the right hand. We went over that. So now we're going to put some shoops in there. So you can put the shoops in the basic pattern. This other basic pattern, any one of the stick control variations. And then one other thing we worked on in our jazz lessons, you go back to those segments, we had the Charleston concept. So there's another way to play with this, which would be to play like say 1 and the and after 2. So. After 1 and 3, 2 and the and after 3, and so forth, as we did with the jazz patterns. You can do that with the Shoop patterns. So you can do this in 16th notes and 8th note mixtures, 8th notes, quarter note mixtures, quarter notes into 8th note mixtures, depending upon the pulse that you're keeping in the different tunes. And then we have a multitude of ways to work this in. So that's pretty much it. The Shoop, though, again, with the mechanics, the staccato, the legato. You have to work on this. The drum set is a whole, it's an amalgamation of different instruments brought into one unit. Even Elvin Jones and a lot of the great drummers will say, hey, listen, this is a whole instrument now. This is the instrument. But then there's ways of subdividing and breaking it out. This is an instrument that has to be, you have to work these pedals, and this happens to be a 15-inch sweet hi-hat, K Zildjian. That one's a 14-inch over there. So I alternate back and forth. In case you're wondering, it's a K 15-inch sweet hi-hat, but you just work your hi-hat and work your pedal and get comfortable with it. Are you heel toeing? Are you releasing at the proper time? Are you getting a nice consistent shoot? That's all the mechanics part of it. But what we were really working on today is how you can work this into all your beats. So you work it in your quarter note beats, your 8th notes, Now, in subsequent segments, we're gonna cover the rim shot, the ghost notes and, you know, the unaccented notes and the accented notes, the pianissimos, the soft notes contrasted with those nice, well-placed rim shots, or just accented beats that happen in funk and fusion all over the place, Latin, you know, world fusion and all that sort of thing. So we'll cover that in a subsequent section. This was the Shoop, working it into our other section. So if you watched part 1 and 2, then a lot of this will be pretty easy. And the whole idea with this is you're going to create the beat you keep, and it is supposed to be as easy as possible. One last comment is I heard a number of interviews with Buddy Rich, and I saw him and many of the great jazz drummers, Art Blakey, Elvin Jones, many, many, many times. But I remember Buddy Rich saying on a few different occasions, when given 2 different musical paths, he's going to take the easier one. Not everything he played was easy. He'll take the easier path of the 2 choices, right? So the object here is to get things down to some simple basics that you then build up, and it's relatively easy. It's what you want to do with it from there to embellish and, of course, elaborate on. Okay, so that's it for this segment. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the subscribe button. Tell other folks about it, so we'll keep doing this, and we'll put a lot more of them in. After the accents and fills, we're gonna get into fills, and we'll get into different note rate fills and how to stagger your fills and move them around in the easiest way possible. And then at some point, you know, you get to more complicated stickings and so forth, so it's not easy, but we're going to try to make it easier. Thanks again for tuning in. We keep the beat with Pete, and hit that subscribe button. Tell other people thanks.